makes a person of interest. Coach Micheal Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.
All right, I'm Coach Micheal Burt. I hope you're doing great out there watching today. I'm excited. I'm actually at my lodge here in Tennessee where I had some coaching sessions this morning. And every month, I like to interview people of interest. And many years ago, I wrote a book called Person of Interest, how to become a must-have versus a nice-to-have, how to really become the person in the space, not just in the space, but the person in the space, the person of interest. So a lot of times on these podcasts, I get to interview some of the best people in the world. And that's really what we have here today is we have the #1 EXP team leader in the world in Jimmy Franklin. And that's a big, Jimmy, that's a big thing. #1 in the world, #1 on planet Earth is a big thing to be, man. And so welcome to Person of Interest.
Thanks, Coach Burt. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind words.
And you're doing what people of interest do. They go to Telluride. and they get to do cool things because people of interest are doing cool things, guys. They're going to cool places. And so today we're going to kind of get into this journey that Jimmy's had in his life, which is a very remarkable journey, and really should inspire you to want to do big things and to get up and go get it. So let's start Jimmy in the beginning, because you've been in real estate now. I think, is it 38 years?
39 years. 30? Later on this year will be 39 years. Yeah.
And it's easy for people to look today where you are today. #1 EXP team in the world, over 600 million, adding team members like crazy at one of the fastest growing real estate company in the world. But let's go back in the beginning and let's talk about where you started. Because I think a lot of just getting to know you, a lot of your grit, toughness, a lot of what makes you who you are, right? As you've accumulated along the way on these certain stops. So let's talk about in the early days, Jimmy. Let's talk about Jimmy Franklin back in the early days when he wasn't the #1 guy in the world. Give us some insight into your background and history.
Yeah, I was not even in the same galaxy as the #1 guy in the world in those days. I college dropout, slacker, kicked around in my 20s, hoping to get back to college, kind of ran out of money and didn't have great grades anyway. Never got back there. Found some other reason not to do it. Had some, the kind of jobs you got in those days when you didn't have a degree. And in my 26, I got my first kind of office job. It looked like it was going somewhere. It was in the energy sector in Houston. And then my wife and I bought a home. We were going to close on that home on July 30th, 1982, which was my 27th birthday. My boss brought me into the office and laid me off on that day. Lost some jobs, and he'd lost some jobs in what was soon to be the bust years in Houston, which were very horrible years. Didn't know it then, but so that was how that day went. Little trifecta day. Laid off, closed on a house, and had a birthday all the same day. And a couple of months later of kicking around and not really being able to find anything other than the part-time job I'd gotten to buy us a refrigerator and some furniture, I ended up with no thought, no vision particularly, just like, yeah, I think that this might be of interest to me. And I got my real estate license. And that's how I got into real estate. So there wasn't any grand plan, Coach. This is where I'm going to go, and this is where I'm going to take this thing. It wasn't like that. It was sort of like, yeah, none of that other stuff worked. Let's try this.
So you made a decision. You took an action. You got involved in real estate. And then what happened? Did it start slow? Did you figure out you had a knack for certain things of real estate? Was it your emotional, mental toughness? Did you have early success, or was it a slow go for a cycle? Because a lot of people have these periods where they just do a couple deals and then and at some point they have this moment where they really grow. How did it start for you?
I was considered to be in a pretty low bar in that era. I think pretty successful. I was at Century 21 in the beginning, and from like 1983 and through 85. But yeah, I had some degree of success as comparable to other agents. One of the kind of fortunate things for me, Coach, is that I never made any money before that, right? So, what I was making wasn't going to make a lot of people excited, but it was, since I didn't have a particularly high bar of income, I didn't get dropped from a 6-figure job, right? I got so I could sort of, maintain my situation. Also, I think I was probably fortunate in those tough years of not having a lot of options, right? So I couldn't go out and say, you know what, this isn't really working. I'm going to go back to my old job. That wasn't an option for me. So so I had sort of moderate success, I would say. In an era when not very many people were making much money.
Now, when you chose that first vehicle of Century 21, because we're ultimately going to end up talking about why you chose EXP, why you left one company after so many years. When you chose that first vehicle to get into Century 21, was there any rhyme or reason for it? Or did you just say, hey, you knew somebody there? Or because I think a lot of people get into real estate, right? They probably assume they're going to cash checks and drive Cadillacs in the first year.
Yeah.
and they find out it's a little bit harder than they thought, but it is a vehicle, and you've proven this. It is a vehicle that can produce a great life and give you a great life.
Yeah. I talked to, I was going to real estate school before I chose a broker, and the real estate guy, good advice, said, hey, talk to a few people. And I did, and I just happened to like that particular broker and went with them. And of course, I was convinced by them. They had name recognition as well. People knew who they were. They were one of the few companies that advertised on television and had good brand recognition. So it was a combination of liking the broker and going that route, and knowing that people would recognize who the company that I work for. So that's how I ended up choosing Century 21, and I was there for 3 years, and a new idea came along that did not have brand recognition. But by that time I had some success, and I also realized that the broker really wasn't responsible for any business that I was doing. 39 years later, I've still yet to get my first referral from a broker, to be quite honest with you, and that's not a cut on them. It's just the way it is. So in 1986, I heard about a new brokerage, if you will, at that time fairly unknown, and it was Remax, and I was attracted to Remax for one reason and one reason only, and that was because they were going to let me keep more of my money. At that time, in the old days, we gave our broker, I got to keep about 46% of my commission. After all was said and done with franchise fees and what the broker got, and Remax had a sort of 100% concept where you paid them rent. I like that libertarian kind of, it's on you, you got to go do it. But if you can do it, you get to keep your money. Essentially, you get to keep more of your money. And I had 2 young children by that time, and didn't have any money. Right. All my money was going to pay my bills and my broker. So I made the jump. I was told, big mistake. Who are these guys? Goofy balloon there on the logo, and the red, white, and blue stuff was you're going to be back without the support. And so I made the move, and I never looked back. Had 32 great years with the company, and grew the team into one of the top teams in the world at Remax.
Well, I think it says a lot. Would you consider yourself open? Because a lot of people, they say they're closed-minded, open-minded.
Mhm.
Seems like you went to Remax. You were open to possibility because you thought it would give your family a better option there. And then somewhere along the way, someone exposes you to the EXP model,
Mhm.
right? And go back to that story of origin. Where did you get exposed to this, and where did you go? You know what? This is something we should consider.
Well, by the time 2018 came along, the team I had founded had grown to, I don't know, $250 million a year in production. And I was sort of out of the day to day anyway. By that time, my children and another partner had taken over the running of the day to day. I was consider myself a very open-minded person. I was fine at Remax, to be quite frank. It was just there to me. They were a landlord. Again, no offense to them. They weren't responsible for anything. We had actually thought about, Coach, going private, going independent, and we just didn't feel like what we were paying really was, there wasn't any value proposition to speak of, and we could we weren't going to lose any business no matter what we did. When the EXP idea came along and I heard about the model, hey, I was blown away. It wasn't incrementally better than where we were or any other place that I'd been, because I'd been recruited by everybody by that time anyway.
Yep.
Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, you name it. They'd all talk to me at some point in time, and I'd always kept an open mind on any of them. That's just the way I think you should do. Not having an open mind is just a good way to stagnate.
Right.
And so I had an open mind, but when I heard about this model and I saw the specifics of it, Coach, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't incrementally better than any other model. It was exponentially better. It was almost like, how quick can we make this move?
Mm-hmm.
And we had 124 listings that we had to move. We had a lot of people to talk to, a lot of clients, a lot of big clients that I'd gotten through the years that I kind of needed the approval on. And so, it wasn't like there was, oh, okay, let's just make a move. We had a lot of things we had to do, but we couldn't move fast enough.
Right. Because it was just very obvious to you, this is where you needed to be. So let's go through that a little bit, because based on my work with you, what I'm really figuring out is EXP is very much in alignment with a lot of your core beliefs as a person, right? The way the model is set up versus what you believe, which is why I think it's such a good match between you, because you have certain beliefs. Let's go through some of those and share with the viewers kind of what some of your core beliefs are and how they mix with the EXP model.
Yeah, it's and by the way, I just want to mention, I know we're here to talk about me, but I did want to bring up that on my first core belief, which by the way, you told me I needed to think about those and articulate them, write them down and articulate them. And the first one, mentioning, which is, I believe that observing what people smarter and more successful than you are doing, and emulating their action. In other words, it's okay to not know everything. Just find somebody that knows more than you and try to be like those guys. And to that point, Coach, I want to bring up that I'm 66 years old a couple of weeks ago, and never had a coach. Never thought about it. It wasn't in, they weren't big in the early days, right? That wasn't a thing that very many real estate agents did. I grew my business. I was successful. I kind of did it my own way, and then when I met you and I heard you speak for the first time, I was there to support one of our guys at EXP, one of my buddies, Canal, and blown away by you and your speech, your talk. And I decided at that moment I was hiring you as my coach. So that to me, that goes hand in hand with my first belief, which is
Yep.
clearly you know more than me about what things I want to get better at.
Yep.
So this idea that I can do it all myself, no matter how much success I've had, is a bad idea. And so having somebody like yourself that can take me to the next step is something I want to do, no matter how old I am.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's based on a core principle I have, is that, we never outgrow our potential, right? No matter where we are in life, there's always another level. There's always another place. And I think it says a lot about you. You got the number one team in the world, but you're hungry. There's another level for you. You want to even get better. And I think that's why, I enjoy working with you so much. And you have certain unique abilities that I think has helped you. With the listeners watching this, a lot of people have unique abilities that they can't see. Jimmy is very good at advocating for people. He's very good at enabling people to be successful. He's very good at affirming and validating people. And, a lot of these gifts are natural. That's why it's hard for people to see. They don't see their own unique abilities. So when you found EXP, you're like, hey, this is a very collaborative environment. This is right. This is different than all the things I've been exposed to. We're actually learning and collaborating from the best. There's a sharing here that's kind of uncommon. Unpack that a little bit, because I've experienced the same thing with EXP. Now that I'm in the network coaching various people there, man, the sharing, the energy, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the movement. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Something's happening, right? And that something's happening is attributed to some of these things you're talking about. So speak to a little bit of that collaborative environment that you believe in.
Well, the funny thing is when we made the move, everybody kind of has their thing, right? Their reason of that they come here to EXP. When we came, there was 11,000 agents in in the fall of 2018, and less than 3 years later, there's over 60,000. In an era where most old brokerages quit growing decades ago, I guess. But our reason for it, if you say, all right, what's one reason, was also has a little something to do, if I can throw in one of my other core beliefs, which is,
Yep.
I believe that passive income is the real key to generational wealth and financial freedom. EXP is the only brokerage out there that allows you to be who you are as a real estate agent, something I'm very good at, something we've been good at for a long time, but also gives you the opportunity, because you can help grow the company, to enjoy some of that passive, in some cases, like I said, generational changing income. So, but back to your question, that model was why we came, right? That was the main reason we came. The collaboration was something we discovered when we got here,
Right.
Which is this unbelievable model that Glenn Sanford created lends itself to collaboration, because everybody is in it for the company. Everybody is in it to grow the company. And I have seen the most, besides these guys are younger and smarter than me, and they get the idea of collaborating, and we've learned so many things from them. And that is one of the things I'm very proud of, is that I'm not afraid to quit learning and quit growing. And the fact that you're coaching me is part of that, right? Like, why do I need a coach might be an opinion that I've talked to people who, are in the top 5% in the business, in Houston, and, doing pretty decent numbers, and act like they don't need any help. Like, hey, I obviously don't need any help, because I'm number 16 out of 43,000 agents. And
Right.
I'm sitting there going, yeah, I think we all need help. There's so much collaboration in the company. And I know I'm a little bit off the subject here, but there's so much collaboration in the company. The model creates this desire to be collaborative, I think. But then it becomes more than that, right? It becomes like I have gotten help from people who don't have anything to do with my line, my collaboration group, but they're at the company, and the company we just help each other.
Yeah, it's cultural. Yeah, you can feel that and sense that. Now, let me ask you this question. The most real estate models, it all goes to zero at midnight, right? I mean, that's really the problem with the model is that, man, the exhausting part is no matter how good you did last month, you got to go get it again, and you got to go get it again, and you got to go get it again. And the easiest way to say that is it all goes to zero at midnight. No matter what you did last month, you got to start over. With the EXP model, if a person's out there, and EXP is now getting a lot of national attention, right? And it's real. It's like, hey, why are so many people going there? Like you said, the anticipation is to grow from 60,000 to 100,000 agents by the end of this year. I mean, that is some serious momentum. And do you believe it's because agents are becoming more aware that, hey, there's a better way here? When we know better, we do better. It doesn't have to all go zero at midnight. You can right. You can be involved in the company, own stock in the company. You can get residual and recurring revenue. Is that what you think's happening?
Totally. Totally. Like I mentioned, revenue share was the Franklin team number one reason for going. We got here, we found out there was other amazing things. Training is great here. Brokerage service is great. Revenue share, some people, like us, or embrace it. Others, maybe some do and some don't. Everybody in the company, though, who does one transaction becomes a shareholder. And so at that point, we're all owners in the company. And so, yeah, it's like I said before, it's just so much. It's exponentially better than any other option out there. And so, yeah, it's going to continue to grow, and yeah, we're going to hit 100,000 early next year at the pace we're in. I think we're going to go to much more, 250 and beyond over time. And it's just a model that gives us opportunities that just don't exist in any other place.
Right. And, when you're thinking about that, I call that creative disruption, where somebody comes along and disrupts the model. Right. And I've told you this before. I was out on tour for another real estate company. I'd signed on to do 35 national events. I was going from really one side of the country to the other. About halfway through the tour, I called that back to my contact at their corporate headquarters. And I said, man, y'all got some serious problems here. Like, these people are not alive. They're dead. The energy's low. There's no excitement or enthusiasm for the company. When people do show up at these events, there's a resistance to get better. And they told me, no, I mean, we don't know what you're talking about. Like, they wanted to, fire me because they said, we're the best real estate company in the world. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm seeing eyeball to eyeball with these people. I'm in these cities. Like, this company is headed in the wrong direction. Like, I'm trying to help you here. Right. And along that time, EXP was really catching steam. Right. And was really bringing a nice alternative to the equation. So if there was a young real estate agent out there, or an older real estate agent that's looking for a change, that's looking for a better way, looking for a better model, what would you say to them if you were sitting right across from them and they come to you and say, Jimmy, I'm open. I watched your interview. I understand you were with this company for X number of years, this company, you made a decision to move. You moved a bunch of transactions over, so it had to be good. Like, what would you say to them if they were considering this, and that would overcome any roadblocks they have in, man, just making a decision to maybe better their life, to move to a vehicle that could help them?
Well, I've always I've been fortunate, Coach, to have made a lot of pretty good business decisions over the decades, and I've sort of had this, I don't know, this theme that, when I'm making a decision, a business decision or a financial decision, whether it be an investment in commercial property, which I have partnerships in, et cetera. I look at everything kind of on a risk reward kind of angle. If you want to put $1 million in the bank, you have no risk and you're going to make very, very, very little money, right? If there's a big upside to an investment, like you're going to invest in an oil field or commercial property, and you're going to sign away, tens of millions of dollars in debt, that there's a big upside, but there's some risk in that situation. And you kind of look at everything based on that risk versus reward. This model is the best situation I've ever seen where the risk is zero, right? And when I'm talking to an agent at any company, any brokerage that they're at, the risk is zero. And by that, I mean, your business isn't going to change. Your business isn't going to drop off, no matter what your broker tells you or what your property, what the guy at the office that runs the office is going to tell you. You are not going to lose business here. We're not the only proof on this. You can talk to anybody that's come over to our company. Did you lose business? No. Well, we went from $250 million in production in 2.5 years ago to 600 million. So you're not going to lose any business. So there right there is the risk part of it, which doesn't exist. And the reward part of it is unbelievable. I mean, there's so many lives that have been changed by what this company has to offer. I would say anybody, like, why not EXP? What's going to happen on the bad side? Let's say you don't get involved in revenue sharing. Let's say the stock doesn't quit going to the moon like it's been going. Let's just say it breaks, breaks even. Even if in that case, the company allows you to purchase stock at a discount, you make money on that moment alone. Right. So I say the risk is zero, the reward is unbelievable. And that's what I would tell anyone that's thinking about or having an open mind about making a move to a company.
Well, I like the risk versus reward. You've obviously done that in a lot of different arenas, right? And like I said, what is the risk? The risk is really not taking an action. The risk is indecision. The risk is staying in a place where it all goes to zero at midnight, in my opinion. I mean, if you're going to join a real estate company, it would make sense to me to join one where you can have a vested interest in the company, build out a team and get residual, because that's where true leverage is. Build the passive income that you want. I mean, that's a good business model. Yeah. Okay. Now, what's the future for Jimmy Franklin and the Franklin team? You're already doing over 600 million. You got a large number of people. You're growing. You're hitting another stride right here, right? What do you think the next step is for people, for you and your team?
Well, my focus is growing our collaboration group. That's my main focus. The team itself, run by Andrew, Sarah, and Andy Gleason, my two kids, and Andy Gleason, they have multiple focuses. My main focus is, of course, they want to continue to grow production, continue to grow their title company. They're in some other business opportunities. We're in hard money lending, et cetera. But all these things have come together and are assisted by our EXP collaboration group. But mine mainly is to continue to grow our RevShore organization and collaboration group. The other thing I want to say on a core belief, Coach, is that, and this fits very nicely in the EXP, because I believe that the best thing I can do as someone who's had a great deal of success is pay it forward and help others. And this allows me to do that while growing our RevShare group. And then when they get here to our RevShare group, continuing to help and mentor them like you're doing with me.
Yeah. I really believe at some point in life, the money's good, but the purpose is right. And Maxwell always said, when once you taste significant success, will never satisfy you. And that's a great line, right? And I think you're at the point in your life where you're really interested in the significance of mentoring people, coaching people to do bigger things, taking your business experience and pouring into those people, building out generational wealth for people. I mean, I think helping another person build generational wealth for their family is one of the best things you could ever do for a person. And getting them into a model where they can actually do that. This is very important. And we'll talk about this and then we'll close this out. It's because the business model, as a business coach, I get to see a lot of business models. And always remember Kiyosaki saying a business is designed before there is a business. A bad business model always has to be recalibrated at some point in the future. A good business model is a recurring revenue. A good business model is where you get to share in the spoils. A good business model is where you can build serious wealth. A good business model is where the technology and people can scale something, right? Those are good business models. And those were all things Glenn Sanford really attacked. The problems with real estate is he really went to work on the business model, and he created a new business model that's just better than the old, outdated, antiquated model. And so if you were telling a person out there today, as we kind of ended up, although your journey to being a person of interest, you didn't, I always tell people you don't have to find your why to do something big in the world. I think your purpose finds you. And I think through you just getting in the game, getting better at real estate, being who you are, which is an authentic person, pouring into the success of other people has helped you really to grow. I mean, like I said, the biggest team, the most successful team there at EXP. So if people are out there interested in joining your team, where do you want them to, what should they do? If they watch this interview and they go, man, I've been looking for a team, for mentorship, for collaboration. I'm on the wrong bus in life. I'm in the wrong vehicle. I've realized that now. Sometimes we got to hear it to know it. What would you tell them to do?
Reach out to me. I'll give you any, it's okay to give these numbers out.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Well, you can either friend me on Facebook and message me. You can email me at jimmy.franklin@thefranklinteaminc.com.
Yep.
It's okay to give my number out, my phone number.
Yeah, sure. You're okay with it.
281-433-6728. So let's talk. And if, and I'll shoot straight with you. If you have a situation with your broker that's not, that sounds like it's, you're getting business, for example, if they're giving you business, if something that never happened to me, I'll tell you, like, hey, this might be where you want to stay. So I'm not afraid to I've never been afraid to tell a seller that they probably better off staying where they're at. That's one of the things that I've always prided myself in. I'll tell somebody what I think is in their best interest.
Yeah. And I think it'd be worth your time if you're watching this out here. Just play pitch and catch with Jimmy. If you've got a concept you want to talk about your brokerage, he's an open book. Be happy to tell you anything you want to take. Look at the different business models and let you come to your own conclusions. And that's really what I've experienced with him. It's upfront, honest, straightforward, open book. And I can really see why you built the number one EXP team in the world, which is a big, out of 60,000 agents, that's saying a lot, man. So congratulations. You're doing big things, but hey, we're about to even find another gear that I'm excited about.
Thanks, Coach. And I really appreciate the fact that that I found you and that we're going to be working together for a long time.
Absolutely, man. Well, this is Jimmy Franklin, folks, person of interest. Listen, it doesn't get any bigger than number one. Okay. And number one on planet Earth is pretty darn big. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're wondering, man, who's the best? There's all these great people out there. Well, we just talked to him right here, folks, for the last 30 or 40 minutes on what's the secret of his success. What is his core beliefs? Why did he choose EXP? What's the business model? He's gracious with his time. So if you ever want to play pitch and catch with him or interested, I encourage you, reach out to him. First time I met him, we talked. I had a great relationship, and he's very open. And that's what I really enjoy seeing, people that have had the kind of success he has, that really has a desire to share it with other people. So another edition of Person of Interest. How do you become a must-have versus a nice-to-have? How do you be the number one person in the world? And I'm Coach Micheal Burt. Thank you for tuning in to Person of Interest. Jimmy, I'm sure this will be shared around the world with all kinds of people. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being a great client. And man, I look forward to our continued bigger future.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it very much.